fighting stance, and then he's going to drop his arms. Okay? It makes it easier for me to punch him in the face. No. This is this is a drill for Joe, actually. Okay, so I want Joe to bring your hands back up for a second. Just throw a jab across this one too. Okay. Now do that same thing, but without your arms. Okay. Again. 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 One more. Okay. He's gonna throw jab cross, or you can throw a cross jab. I don't care. But without your arms. Think about power coming from the floor into your legs, your hips, your shoulders. Keep your hip and shoulder together. You're driving with all of this. And for now, I want you to forget that you have arms and you're literally punching with your shoulders, okay? The arms are the delivery vehicle, the conduit for the punch, okay? But the punch happens here, okay? So if Joe just throws his right hand, boom, that's what I want. And here, so jab cross. Again. One more. Yeah? Okay. One side is hitting, one side is feeding. I will switch you. And I'm just having Joe go same side for this, since there's no extension on it. Okay? But different. This time Joe's going to bring his hands up. And I want you to consciously think about doing the same things with your body, but now he's going to hit with the elbow. Okay? And here I will go across. So Joe's going to go right, left elbow. Across, or horizontal. Here. Yeah. Again. Again. One more. And so now I want your conscious effort and thought process to be this. If Joe is throwing the right side, he's pushing with the right side. But he's pulling with the left side. Okay? So this left hip and shoulder, when he pushes on this side, this left hip and shoulder pulls. There should be these antagonistic forces happening where he's driving with this side, but this side is pulling back. Keep your core engaged, okay? We're trying to get as much power as we can in a short little distance, okay? Look, for fighting, you might get one shot, all right? And that's not an Eminem reference. You just might get one shot. And you need to make it count, okay? So when Joe brings this right hand forward here, this side necessarily must engage. Joe can't throw. Keep your left side right where it is. Okay. Bring your right hip and shoulder to me. Don't move your left side. See how weird that is? How awkward, and there's no power. But if he thinks about pushing here and pulling here, okay, you can create a lot of force in a little bit of distance. Think about it like this. If you're gonna spin a top and you try to just do it like this, it's just gonna fall, right? I need these forces working together to make that happen. Okay, so pushing here and pulling here, all right? Same thing happening here. All right, right, left elbows. Okay. Now, I want Tansha just to put her right glove on my right mitt as if she had just thrown that right straight, okay? So on both sides, I want you to think about bringing that hip and shoulder forward here and just freezing on it for a second, okay? So she's at the end of that right hand. Here, incidental defense is intact, right? She's behind this shoulder. She should be mostly covered on this side, okay? Now, whenever she's ready, I'm going to have the mitt ready. I want her to think about pulling from here, pushing from here, and sending that left hook. Okay, here. She freezes on it. Okay? Put that right hand back up. The push happened here, the pull happened here. Now the pull happens here, the push happens there. Okay? If you're throwing punches in combination, right? Leave this push out here, leave your hip and shoulder out here. Okay? You can take the hand back, but throw the left hook without recoiling the body. Okay? There's nothing there. Because that side has nowhere to go. This side necessarily has to pull for there to be any real power on this. Okay? So if you are throwing more than one punch, and in a self-defense context, you're probably throwing a lot of them, like more than you can count. It's going to be necessary that both sides of my body are working together. And if I'm not leading with my body, meaning my hips, my legs, my shoulders are not engaging before my hands engage, then it's going to be really difficult to get any sort of power in these shots. Your first one could be something like this, where I don't engage my body, right? But there's nothing on that, right? So that's fast, but it's not effective. It doesn't do anything. Right? So getting to a target quickly without doing damage is worthless. And actually it may be counterproductive because I'm using energy to do nothing. And I'm allowing them the opportunity to understand, oh, we're in a fight now. Whereas opposed to if I throw my right hand or even my left, and I throw it with speed and power where my hip, my shoulder, and my legs engage here, there might be a fraction of a second difference in terms of speed, but one is incredibly more effective than the other, right? One actually will do damage and maybe finish the fight. One does nothing really, okay? I need to engage my body. So one more time here. Push, pull, okay? Really think about retracting this. We're going to switch the drill, but think about it like this. In some circles, you'll hear the terminology hands, body, feet. And what that essentially means is my hand leads, my body follows, and then my feet, my lower half goes last. There's some relevant application to that in like weapons defense. And then honestly, even in more like sportive kind of things where maybe I'm varying the range, varying the timing, varying the speed and the pacing to set somebody up. But in a self-defense context, I'm not throwing my hands far. It doesn't matter if you get there fast and ineffective, okay? And it's very difficult to separate speed from power. The more important one is the timing. Throwing the right thing at the right time, okay? If you get there really, really fast and miss, or you get there really, really fast and do no damage, what was the point? And so if we measure the difference between that and that in terms of the amount of time it took, it's going to be realistically pretty negligible. But on the receiving end, what's going to be felt is not going to be negligible. Okay? So getting there really quickly but not doing damage makes no sense. And then, like you should have felt in that drill, even if I ascribe to the hands, body, feet kind of thing, and I let my right hand go, hand, body follows, and then feet last, and then I want to follow it with a left hook, well, how do I go hands, body, feet from here? Now that my right side is forward, how does my hand lead? There's nowhere for me to go, okay? There's a time and place for something like that. If you were here at Hard Ready and you did Mike's session where you played with all the jab work, there's a time and place for that kind of thing. But it's in a ring or a cage, okay? It's not in a parking lot where every shot I throw needs to do damage. Does that make sense? Okay, so the next drill we're going to run, Joe, can I have you just go to this end for me? Yeah. So we're going to run just straight punches, just 1-2s. And you're going to start with just your basic footwork. Just kind of step, follow, step, follow, step, follow like this. So just walk me backwards. No, yeah. Just here. Okay, just this. And you can both throw on your gloves if you want. That way it will save us some time. So one goes all the way down that way, one goes all the way back that way, and then we're going to switch the footwork. All right, just hold for me. So this time we're going to change the footwork. So that was more what I would call kind of hand-centric. The hands are kind of leading, the body's following a little bit because we're advancing, we're moving. So this time, we're going to get the body more involved and more engaged. Okay, if you ever saw early Vitor Belfort fight in UFC, he would run dudes across the cage with this kind of footwork. Okay, and eventually they just ran out of room to run. All right. Now, in a self-defense context, are we ever going to use this much space? I would hope not, because at that point, that person is just trying to run away from you, and you're just following them and punching them. Okay? So, at some point, you become the aggressor. You should probably just let them run away. But it allowed this much distance allows us to get a feel for the movement, the footwork, and what happens to the receiving end. Okay? This might only be 2 or 3 steps, and then either they fall down or I move on to another thing. All right, so now instead of me doing the footwork we just did, where it's kind of step, follow, step, follow, step, follow like this, I'm still throwing jab cross, but my body is moving with Joe. And look how much more distance I'm covering and how hard it is for Joe to keep up with me because he's going backwards. And I'm moving forward, and my body is getting out with my hands or even in front of my hands because when I step here, my body is engaging as the punch is coming versus this. Both have a place, okay? But for self-defense, when I'm looking for a 6-second fight, not a 6-round fight, I want to overwhelm them as early as I feasibly can while still maintaining control of what I'm doing, right? I want to be aggressive, but I want to have control as well. Just being aggressive is a problem. How many times have you seen, especially in MMA, where one guy kind of gets rocked a little bit and they end up against the cage and this other guy just comes in with like reckless abandon and this dude goes, wow, here. Because he gets overzealous. He sees the guy hurt and he comes in wild and crazy and he pays for it. So I want to be aggressive, but I need to have control as well. Okay? It's like when you go to kick, there's a difference between being out of balance and out of control. Here, there's a difference between being aggressive and just chaotic, not having control of what you're doing. All right, so this footwork allows me to be aggressive and kind of run them down and have power as I'm doing it and still maintain good footing underneath me. Okay? See it again, or we're good? Okay. Holders. You're going to get overrun pretty quickly probably. Even if they're not going really fast, you're probably going to get overrun pretty quickly. So once that happens, if you're here and you're already overrun, reset and run it again. Okay, and if you have to do that 4 times across the floor, do it. That's fine. That's part of it. Let your partner see how quickly they can be overwhelmed by this kind of movement. All right? Start on this end all the way down. Let your partner come all the way back. Questions on any of that? And again, look, that's going to be 2 or 3 feet, and then I'm moving on to something else, or they fall down, or they turn and run. Okay? And don't chase them. Let them go. You should probably run the other way. Okay? Again, we're not trying to prove anything. When it comes to self-defense, my job is not punishment. Like that's not. My job is to survive as unscathed as possible. I do enough damage to allow me to get out of there. That's it. That's my job. Okay? Does that make sense? Sure. All right. Any questions on that footwork? Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say about this kind of the hands versus the body kind of thing before we spar it out is one of the things that you'll hear about as a pro for hands, body, feet is that approach is less telegraphed. And my response to that is more telegraphed. Because, especially in the self-defense context, if you've got somebody in front of you that you think might do damage to you, what are you watching? Probably their hands, right? Because if they're gonna punch me, stab me, shoot me, hit me with a brick, whatever, grab me, choke me, what are they gonna use? Their hands. Okay, so I'm more likely to have eyes on their hands. So if their hands move first, what's more telegraphed? Whereas if my body moves first, you don't know if that's going to be hands, a kick, a knee, a headbutt, an elbow. What you don't know. I might shoot a double. if my body moves first, does that make sense?
Yeah.
If my hands move first and I'm watching your hands, that's about as telegraphed as it's going to get. You might as well go. Right? All right, questions on any of that? Okay, so we're going to spar it out for the rest of the class. Listen, we just spent a lot of time talking about developing power in our shots. Now you need to dial that back and down for the sparring side, okay? Depending on who you're working with, you can get after it to the body a little bit. But I still want you to think about engaging your body in a way that you're going to be the most effective. You just have to take something off of it on the end. Look, I can throw shots with body sponsorship and fast and then pull it. You know, I don't have to follow through, okay? You don't have to look to crack somebody and knock them out. You can dig to the body some, you can dig to the leg some. Everybody in here should be able to handle that. But anything to the head should just be a little touch show work here, okay? Make sense?